This is my discussion slash review for 911 Season 4, Episode 5, titled Human Resources. And this is why everybody hates cancel culture. Let's talk about it. First off, I have to apologize for being 2 weeks behind, but I will not be behind for this week's episode, which is episode 7. But this episode 5, had me feeling all kinds of weird, man. I felt happy. I felt sad. I got real emotional. I got hopeful. And then I just felt perturbed and angry at the same time. There was a lot of emotions running around with this episode. And a lot of those came from the couple that we saw in the very opening of this season. The nephew running around doing his stuff. And cancel culture, man. It's just so I was so angry with this episode. Such a great episode because there was a lot of elements going into it, but I was just angry in general, man. We start off with this episode and we see the nephew out here setting explosions, killing people. The nephew is on a whole nother trip, man. He got his whole thing going on, and we still don't quite understand the reason why he's doing this, but now he's starting to make plans and enact those plans and set up situations for his grand master plan, if you will. We see him stealing a radio this episode, from the firehouse. We see him setting fires, checking their response times, because that's what he was doing in the car. Like, he was checking their response times for everything. He had everything written down, trying to know when they'll come, what routes they're going to take and all that stuff. And he has a radio now, so he'll know when they're coming and all that. He has everything set up for whatever he decides to do that's going to involve bombs and an explosion, which sucks, man. And I still don't get why he's doing this. I got to check out episode 6, but this episode, I loved it and I hated it because of the whole cancel culture part of this episode. And it showcased why cancel culture sucks, because Marjan, sure, she called the lady crazy. Because let's be 100%, the lady was acting crazy. Her husband was acting crazy. He's driving their mobile home on the freeway, just rampaging stuff, just causing a ruckus, and he didn't even get jail time. He got a freaking fine. And the lady is in the trailer while he's driving it, wrecked it, almost with her in it, and she doesn't want to leave because no, the judge made it mine. And the sad thing about it is, which is also very evident in cancel culture and in real life experiences, they weren't even after it because they were legitimately hurt. Or offended by what Marjan had done. They wanted money. That was their whole premise. They wanted money, and that was it. And matter of fact, they had a definition of the dollar amount that they wanted, which was $750,000. And the higher ups were willing to use Marjan as an example. So either she apologizes, or they're gonna throw her to the wolves and have a lawsuit or whatever. And the sad thing is I love the back and forth between Marjan and Owen this episode, because we kind of see the roles reversed, because we know that Marjan was just so adamant about Owen signing the papers, even went to him in a blizzard, and they kind of brought it back up this episode, but about him signing the papers, whether he meant it or not. And we see Owen and Marjan kind of on different footing this time around, but Marjan really meant her apology, because she was actually sorry for if she offended this lady, but the lady wasn't offended, because then we see them back together as a couple, and they're holding hands, they're all excited, and then they come in with this dollar amount to use for Marjan and her fans, which is, well, I tell you, man, it sucks, man. It really, really does. And honestly, when the HR chick came in, I just knew. I was like, oh man, what did Owen do this time? Because like, we had a lot of comedy coming through the episode, and the whole HR HR interview had this whole thing. It was comedic. The timing was on point. I loved it. It was funny. Everybody giving a different example. Yeah. Then we had Lard in here. It was funny. But he went to jail. It was funny until we realized that it was on Marjan about calling this lady crazy. Now, sure, I know that you can't really say stuff that you used to say in the past, because people do tend to get offended. But let's be 100%. People are a little too offended easily nowadays, man. You could breathe wrong, and oh my gosh, he was breathing on me wrong. Or, you find somebody, they may be attractive or not. I don't know, man. You're a little old for me. Oh, he's ages. How am I ages? I'm not dating an 80-year-old lady. I'm not ages. That's just being real. But you know, it's neither here nor there, man. It's like that's what I'm saying. Like this episode showcased that cancel culture is what it was. Is buffoonery? Is that a word? Anyway, it's garbage if there's no legitimate thing behind it. I'm not saying canceling someone is ever grounds, but I'm just saying if the lady was sincere about it and like she was legitimately hurt behind Marjan's words, then yeah, totally. But if not, like what they're doing is all about the dollar. That's all they wanted. But anyway, man, that's what had me upset the entire time with this episode. And then we had all the stuff we were dealing with the nephew, which just kind of just angered me more. But we have another situation that's developing with Grace and this Linus kid, which was fun. It was enjoyable. I love seeing the little kid on the phone. I am in so much trouble. I need help with my times tables. It's the sevens. The sevens is what got me. And we see Grace helping this kid on multiple occasions, and then she's talking to a supervisor that the mom was slurring her words. And I love the fact that Grace didn't want to call 911 or an officer to do a welfare check because she didn't want to put this mom in a situation to where if something goes wrong, then they're going to take her child from her. So Judd gave her the wonderful idea of just going to check up on him herself, and that turned out to be a great thing, man, because the mom was suffering from a bunch of mini strokes that led into one ultimate stroke. And just because Judd and Grace were there, they were able to get her to the hospital, take care of Linus, and save his mom at the same time because they got her there in the golden hour, which was fan-freaking-tastic, man. Like I said, it's 911. Lone Star does it just a little bit different. Now, I'm waiting for 911 to come back, but Lone Star, it just hits on different syllables. Now, the jokes come in a little bit more with Lone Star, but when they get serious and they have something wonderful into the storyline, it's freaking fantastic. Like, even the part with the cancel culture, I didn't like it, and I don't agree with it, but it was still great writing, because at the ending of the episode, we see that Marjan decided to leave. Now, I read an article about her leaving, but I didn't know what was the purpose of it. So maybe she wanted to try something else. She got a role in something. I honestly don't know. I just saw that in the article that she was leaving 911 Lone Star, but they didn't give a determined time for how long or if she was going to ever come back. But she mentioned in this episode that she's definitely going to be back for the wedding. So whenever the wedding takes place, we know that Marjan is going to be back. But everybody had their heartfelt goodbye, man. Paul even went to HR to fight for Marjan, which was epic. And him and the chick kind of recognized that they knew each other from Chicago. Like, there was a lot of moving parts in this episode, but everything flowed nicely, and it was such a great episode. Even if you did hate the aspects with the cancel culture parts, the rest of it was still a solid foundation of an episode, and I loved every aspect of it, man. Tommy being there for Grace to help her in that situation, and Grace realizing that, hey, outside of the call center, when you're actually in the thick of it, it's a little bit different. It was such great writing. Everybody played their part, man. I have no qualms about it. And now we have to deal with the foolery of all of the stuff that the nephew has going on, man. And it's just crazy, man. But like I said, the whole cancel culture part is what really got me. It was very evident that the cancel culture even affected Marjan mentally, because with that one guy that was holding onto the beam, she didn't even know, like, she froze in the middle of a fire because she was afraid of what he may say if she decided to save him. Paul had to come in and punch him. It was like, oh, hey, we don't care what you say, man. We getting you up out of here. But it was such a wonderful episode, and this is proof why cancel culture sucks, man. This is really incredible. Don't forget to smash the like button so you can smash any more. Comment down below, and I'll be sure to respond to each and every one of them, and subscribe. Peace out. I cannot complain because today, I'm doing